The twin suns of the Orion trade station were setting, painting the metal floors in a dull red glow. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and fear. Every sound echoed, boots clanking, traders shouting, aliens hissing in strange tongues. This was no place for kindness. It was a market where everything had a price, even life. Among the crowd walked Eli Turner, a human mechanic with grease on his hands and hunger in his stomach. He worked fixing old engines for small ships, earning barely enough to survive. His eyes were tired, his clothes worn, but inside him still burned a spark, the stubborn will that humans were famous for. He had come to the auction house to find used machine parts for his broken ship. But what he saw instead made his blood turn cold. At the center of the grand hall stood two small cages made of glowing energy. Inside them, two alien girls sat trembling. Their skin was pale silver, their hair soft like blue mist. The older one held her little sister tightly, whispering words in a language no one understood. Their wide eyes were full of terror. A booming voice cut through the noise. Next on the list, two pure-blood Lura sisters, the last of their kind, perfect for experiments, servants, or entertainment. The crowd cheered. Laughter and cruel jokes filled the air. Eli froze. He had heard stories of the Lura, a peaceful species whose planet had been destroyed in a war they never started. Only a few survived, most ending up as slaves. He clenched his fist. These were just children. A tall, dark figure stepped forward, and the infamous warlord Kratos. His armor gleamed black, his eyes burned red. Everyone stepped back when he appeared. Even the auctioneer bowed. Kratos was feared across the sectors, known for buying rare creatures and using them for cruel science. He looked at the girls and smiled, showing sharp teeth. 5,000 credits, he said lazily. I'll take both, the crowd gasped. No one dared to outbid him. The older girl, maybe 9 years old, began to cry silently. Her little sister reached for her hand, whispering, "Don't let them take me away." The older one held her tighter, shaking with fear. Eli's heart ached. He remembered another child, his own sister, dying years ago during the Mars collapse. He hadn't been able to save her. The memory stabbed him like a knife. The auctioneer grinned. 5,000. Do I hear 6? No one spoke. Kratos folded his arms, confident. The girl's tears hit the floor like rain, and then a quiet but firm voice broke the silence. 6,000. Every head turned. At the back of the hall, Eli stood, his hands shaking, his voice steady. A human had just spoken. The room erupted in laughter. A human? One alien shouted. Look at him. He can't even afford food. Another jeered. The auctioneer sneered. Sir, this is no charity. Do you have the funds? Eli swallowed hard. He didn't, but he couldn't stop now. I'll trade my ship, he said. Every tool, every credit I own. Kratos turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Do you know who you're defying, human? Eli met his gaze. A monster who buys children. The hall went silent. Even the machines seemed to pause. Kratos laughed in a cold, thunderous sound. You think you can outbid me? Fine, 10,000. The crowd cheered again, loving the show. Eli's heart pounded, but he raised his voice. 15,000! He didn't have that kind of money, but he didn't care. His life was already worth less than theirs. The auctioneer hesitated. 15,000 from the human. Do I hear more? Kratos' smile vanished. 50,000. The room went quiet again. No one would dare go higher. The auctioneer looked ready to end it, until the older Lura girl reached out, her small hand glowing faint blue. The light touched the energy bars and traveled through the air, straight to Eli's chest. His body shook as his heartbeat synced with hers for a brief second. A gasp spread through the hall. The system scanned the reaction. The screen above flashed. Emotional bond detected, human, Lura pairing confirmed. The crowd murmured. By galactic law, bonded beings could not be separated. The sale had to go to the bonded bidder, no matter the price. Eli stared at the girls in shock. The older one whispered, "Thank you." Kratos roared, slamming his fist on the platform. "This isn't over, human. I'll make you regret this." Guards stepped between them as Eli approached the cages. The auctioneer, forced by law, released the barrier. The girls ran into Eli's arms, trembling. He could feel their tiny hearts beating fast against his chest. He looked around, the hall full of eyes, some mocking, some curious, but mostly afraid. A poor human had just beaten a warlord in his own game. As he carried the girls out, Kratos' voice echoed behind him like thunder. "You can't hide from me, Turner. I'll find you and I'll take back what's mine." Eli didn't look back. He just tightened his hold on the little sisters. For the first time in years, he had something to protect. Outside, the stars were cold and silent. But somewhere in their light, a small spark of hope flickered. The hope that maybe, just maybe, one man's kindness could still matter in this cruel galaxy. The crowd was still buzzing as Eli Turner walked out of the auction hall with the two alien sisters clinging to him. The neon lights of the Orion trade station flickered like angry eyes, and whispers followed him wherever he went. A human, poor, nameless, unwanted, had just outbid Warlord Kratos. No one had ever dared do that before. Eli could feel the sisters trembling. The older one, Leary, kept glancing back in fear. The smaller one, May, hid her face in his jacket. He moved quickly through the crowded metal streets, heading toward the docking bay where his small ship, the Sparrow, waited. Behind him, a holographic screen suddenly flashed a breaking alert. "Attention, illegal interference in Auction 47. Human subject Eli Turner. Bounty pending confirmation." Eli cursed under his breath. "They're already after us," he whispered. He looked down at the girls. "We need to move fast." "Do you trust me?" Leary didn't answer, but she didn't let go of his hand either. When they reached the Sparrow, Eli hurried to unlock the hatch. The ship was old and rusted, more scrap than StarCraft, but it was all he had. He guided the girls inside. The door hissed shut, and the noise of the city faded behind them. The cabin lights flickered weakly. "Home sweet home," he muttered with a sad smile. May looked around with wide eyes. "Is this your nest?" she asked in a soft, musical voice. Eli chuckled quietly. "Something like that, yeah. It's small, but it flies." Leary stood beside her sister, cautious. "Why did you save us?" Eli paused, thinking of the right words. "Because no one else would," he said simply. "And because no one deserves to be sold." For a moment, the ship was silent except for the low hum of the engines warming up. Then May tugged on his sleeve. "You smell like our home air," she said. He blinked. "Your home air?" Leary nodded slowly. "The old stories said our world had a scent, metal and dust and green storms. You smell like that." Eli looked down at the floor. The oxygen filters in the Sparrow were ancient, built during the early colonization wars. Maybe they shared the same technology once used on the Lura homeworld. Fate had strange ways of connecting things. Suddenly, the comms unit crackled to life. A voice boomed through the speakers, deep, angry, familiar. "Human Turner, this is Warlord Kratos. You've stolen what is mine. Surrender now or I will make your death a message." Eli froze. His hands tightened on the console. "He's faster than I thought." Leary's face went pale. "He'll hurt you. He always hurts people who stand in his way." Eli turned to her, his voice firm. "Not today." He activated the ship's thrusters. The engines screamed as the Sparrow lifted off, shaking from strain. The docking bay alarm blared, red lights flashing everywhere. Kratos' warship, the Black Fang, appeared in orbit, blocking the path like a dark mountain. Its massive cannons glowed blue, aimed directly at Eli's small vessel. Come on," Eli muttered, pushing the throttle to full. The Sparrow shot forward, weaving between cargo drones and patrol ships. Plasma bolts tore through space behind them, missing by inches. Inside, May cried and covered her ears. Leary hugged her tight, whispering, "He won't let us go." "He never does." Eli's jaw clenched. He pulled a rusty lever beside the control panel. "Hang on tight." The Sparrow dove into a meteor trail, dodging burning rocks as explosions lit up the dark. One fragment grazed the hull, shaking the whole ship. Sparks flew. Kratos' laughter echoed through the comms. "Run, little human. Run as long as you can. But remember, and even rats get tired." Eli shut off the channel. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned with determination. He'd been running from debts and failure his whole life. Not this time. This time he was running for something. For someone. Minutes later, he managed to slip behind the shadow of a broken satellite ring, hiding from the Warlord's scanners. The engines hummed quietly. The danger had passed, and for now, Leary approached him slowly. "You risked your life for us. You don't even know who we are." Eli leaned back in the pilot's chair, exhaling. "I don't need to. You're just kids. That's enough for me." She stared at him, confused. Most beings don't care about other species. Even your own people avoid helping others. He gave a small smile. Maybe I'm not like most people. May peeked out from behind Leary. You're nice, she whispered. Like light. Eli laughed softly, the first real laugh he'd had in years. Light, huh? That's a new one. Leary tilted her head, studying him. We owe you our lives, human. He shook his head. You don't owe me anything. Just stay alive. That'll be enough. But deep inside, Eli knew things weren't going to be that simple. Kratos wouldn't stop. He had seen the girls glow just like Eli had. It wasn't just beauty, and it was energy, a strange living power flowing in their veins. And now Eli understood why Kratos had been willing to pay any price. The sisters weren't just survivors. They were something far greater. He turned toward the dark stars ahead. Somewhere out there had to be a place safe enough for them. He looked back at the girls sleeping in the corner of the cabin, huddled together under an old blanket. They looked peaceful, fragile, like two small lights trying to survive the endless night of space. He whispered to himself, I'll keep you safe, no matter what it costs. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, and in the void between them, the sparrow drifted quietly, carrying a broke human, two alien sisters, and the first spark of something the galaxy had forgotten long ago. Hope. Space was quiet. Too quiet. After the wild escape, the sparrow floated through the dark edges of the Andrax belt, a wasteland of broken moons and forgotten wrecks. Every metal creak sounded like danger. Every shadow outside the viewport looked like a hunter waiting to strike. Eli Turner sat at the control seat, his eyes heavy but alert. He hadn't slept in 2 days. The warning lights on the dashboard blinked red. Low fuel, weak shields, damaged hull. The ship was falling apart just like him, but the small sound of breathing behind him kept him going. In the corner of the cabin, the Lura sisters were asleep, curled up under an old gray blanket. The older one, Leary, held her sister May tightly, even in sleep, as if afraid she would vanish if she let go. Their skin shimmered faintly in the dark, like moonlight reflecting on water. Eli turned off the main lights and watched them for a moment. They looked peaceful, innocent, two lost children in a cruel galaxy. He whispered to himself, what did I get myself into? But deep inside, he knew the answer. He had already lost too much in his life. He couldn't lose them too. The silence broke when a soft voice came from behind. Are we safe now? Leary had woken up. Her eyes glowed a faint blue in the dim cabin light. Eli sighed. For now. But Kratos won't give up. He'll be searching every system by now. Leary hugged her knees. He always finds what he wants. He found our village. Our family. Eli turned in his chair, facing her. You don't have to talk about that. But she looked up at him. You should know. So you understand what he'll do if he catches us? Her voice trembled as she spoke. Our people used to live in floating cities above the clouds. We made light grow from air. But Kratos came with machines and soldiers. He said our cores were worth more than our lives. He took everyone. Me and May hid, but they found us later. He kept us in glass cells. Eli's stomach twisted. He had seen cruelty before, but hearing it from a child made his chest ache. I'm sorry, he said quietly. No one should go through that, Leary nodded. When you bought us, I thought it was another trick. But May said your eyes were kind. He smiled faintly. Your sister's pretty smart. Leary tilted her head. You're strange, human. You fight even when you're weak. Eli laughed softly. Yeah, that's what we're known for, being too stubborn to quit. Hours later, the Sparrow entered the shadow of a broken planet. It was dark and safe from scanners. Eli powered down the ship to hide their signal. He walked to the back compartment where May was awake, quietly playing with a small gear she found. When she saw him, she smiled. Your ship makes funny noises, she said. That's because she's old, Eli replied, sitting beside her. Like me. May giggled. You're not old. Just tired, he smiled. You sound like someone I used to know. Who? My sister, he said softly. She was brave like you, she used to say. Even broken things can still fly. May looked at him with big eyes. Did she fly? Eli's voice lowered. No, she didn't make it. May reached out her tiny hand and placed it on his arm. Then we'll fly for her, Eli blinked. That single sentence hit his heart like a sunrise breaking through clouds. But peace never lasted long. The radar suddenly beeped, faint, rhythmic, mechanical. A trace signal. Someone was tracking them. Eli jumped to his seat, checking the scanners. No. They found us again. Outside the ship, a faint red light flashed across the debris field. A hunter drone, one of Kratos' scouts. It scanned the area looking for heat signatures. Eli shut down all power. The ship went dark. He motioned to the girls to stay quiet. The only sound left was May's faint breathing. Through the small viewport, he could see the black drone drifting closer, its red eye glowing brighter. Leary whispered, "He's here." Eli nodded slowly. "Not yet. That's just his shadow." The drone floated closer and closer until it was just a few meters away. Eli's hand hovered over the manual release for the ship's cargo bay. One wrong move and it would detect them. May sneezed, a tiny sound, but in the silence it echoed like thunder. The drone froze. Then its red eye turned toward their ship. "Hold on," Eli yelled. He slammed the power button and fired the engines. The drone fired a plasma bolt, hitting the rear thrusters. The ship lurched violently. May screamed. Leary covered her sister as sparks flew everywhere. Eli steered hard, diving into the broken remains of the planet's surface. The ship scraped through metal debris and crashed into an ancient mining tunnel. The lights went out again. The drone hovered outside for a few seconds, scanning, but couldn't detect any heat signatures inside the tunnel. After a moment, it flew away. Eli sat in silence, breathing heavily. "That was too close," Leary whispered. "He's not going to stop." Eli nodded. "Then neither will I." Later, as the ship powered down for the night, Leary sat beside Eli near the dim control lights. "Why do you help us?" she asked again. "You could have left. No one would have blamed you." Eli thought for a moment before answering. "Because when I looked at you two, I saw my sister again. I couldn't save her. But maybe I can save you." Leary stared at him, silent. Then she said quietly, "You already did." Eli looked out at the stars, each one a lonely spark in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Kratos' ships were still hunting. The shadows were getting closer, but for the first time in a long time, Eli didn't feel alone. He looked at the girls sleeping peacefully again and whispered to himself, "They can chase my shadow all they want, but they'll never touch my light." Outside, the debris field floated quietly, but in the far distance, a massive warship appeared from hyperspace. Its black hull reflected no stars. Kratos had arrived. The shadows were no longer far away. The dark tunnel trembled as the ship's engines cooled down. The Sparrow was half buried in metal dust, sparks still dripping from its cracked hull. The air inside was thick with smoke and fear. Eli Turner coughed as he forced open the maintenance hatch, wiping grease from his face. "We're not dead," he said, half to himself, half to the stars. "That's a good start." The Lura sister sat quietly in the corner. Leary held May close, whispering softly to calm her. The younger one still shook from the crash, her small hands glowing faintly with that strange blue light. Eli noticed it again, that faint shimmer under their skin. It wasn't just light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He tried to act calm, but his mind was racing. What are they? What did Kratos really want with them? He looked around the dark mining tunnel through the cracked viewport. Huge metal skeletons of machines surrounded them, reminders of a forgotten civilization. Perfect for hiding. For now, he turned to the girls. "We'll stay here a few hours. Let the scanners pass. Then we'll move," Leary nodded. "He won't stop." Eli gave a small grin. "Neither will I." Hours passed. The ship was quiet except for the faint hum of backup power. Eli worked under the control panel, fixing circuits with trembling hands. The crash had broken almost everything. Navigation, shields, even the oxygen scrubbers. As he worked, he heard a small voice behind him. "Are you hurt?" It was May, standing barefoot, her big blue eyes filled with worry. Eli smiled tiredly. "Just a few scratches." "You okay?" May nodded, though her skin glowed brighter. Her breathing was uneven. "It feels cold," she whispered. Eli frowned. He touched her wrist. It felt icy. "You need heat?" She shook her head weakly. "No, the air, it's different. My body doesn't like it." He looked at the oxygen gauge. Normal. So why was she fading? Leary hurried to her side. "It's starting again." "Starting what?" Eli asked. Leary bit her lip. Her core is unstable. We've been running for too long. Without the right air, it burns out. Core? Eli repeated. You mean her heart? Leary hesitated. Not exactly. We don't have hearts like you. We have light inside us. It connects us to our world's air. When that connection breaks, our bodies start to die. Eli stared at her, his mind spinning. So she needs air from your planet to live? Leary nodded. But our planet is gone. Eli looked at the small, glowing girl in his arms, trembling and pale. He refused to accept that answer. He jumped to his feet. Then we'll build it. For the next few hours, Eli worked like a man possessed. He scavenged old oxygen filters, coolant pipes, and broken processors. He connected them with glowing wires, whispering calculations to himself. Leary watched in silence, confused. What are you doing? He grinned slightly. I used to build life support systems for miners on Mars. If I can trick the sensors to mimic your world's atmosphere, maybe we can keep her alive. He pointed to a cracked air chamber. This thing might be old, but it still works. All I need is to change its chemical balance. Leary frowned. You can do that? He shrugged. I can try. He spent hours mixing gases from leftover tanks, adjusting heat and light levels. When he turned on the chamber, the air shimmered faintly blue, like the glow under their skin. May took one deep breath inside it and gasped. Her color slowly returned, the glow stabilizing. It's working, Leary whispered, eyes wide. Eli smiled. Told you. Broken things can still fly, but the peace didn't last. As May rested in the chamber, the radar suddenly beeped again. A faint red dot appeared on the scanner. Multiple ships inbound. Eli's heart dropped. He found us. Leary's face went pale. Krathos. Outside, in the distance of the black tunnel mouth, bright lights appeared. Ships entering the broken planet's orbit. Krathos's war drones were sweeping the tunnels with scanners. Eli ran to the pilot's chair. We can't outfly them this time. The engines won't handle another chase. Leary clenched her fists. Then what do we do? He looked around desperately. Then his eyes fell on the mining shaft above them, a vertical passage filled with broken equipment. He grinned. We dig our way out, Leary frowned. With what? Your hands? He pointed at the ship's rear thrusters. With fire. He powered up the engines at minimum thrust, tilting the ship upward. The heat melted the ceiling, creating a path through the debris. Dust and sparks filled the air. Leary covered May with her arms as the noise grew deafening. The ceiling cracked, then broke open, revealing the cold light of space. Eli shouted, Hold tight! The Sparrow blasted upward, tearing through smoke and metal. Behind them, the tunnel exploded as the war drones detected the engine heat. Plasma bolts streaked through the dark, barely missing the ship. Eli pushed the throttle to full. Come on, girl. Don't die on me now. The old engines screamed, but the Sparrow climbed higher and higher until they broke free from the planet's shadow. In the rear camera, Eli saw Krathos's ship, the Black Fang, emerge like a monster from the storm. Leary looked at him. He'll never stop, Eli's jaw tightened. Then we'll find a place he can't follow. Hours later, when the danger had passed, the ship floated in the quiet void once more. May was asleep inside the glowing air chamber. Her breathing was calm now, her light steady. Leary sat beside her, whispering softly, You saved her, human. Eli leaned against the wall, exhausted. No, she saved herself. I just gave her air. Leary shook her head. No one else ever tried. You did. Eli smiled faintly. Guess I'm just too stubborn to let anyone die on my watch. Then, as he looked closer at May's chamber, something strange caught his eye. The glowing air inside pulsed like a living thing, and faint patterns of energy ran across the glass. He reached out, touching it. The energy flickered and formed symbols, not random, but messages. They weren't just children. They were carrying something ancient. Eli whispered to himself, What are you really, little one? And for a moment he thought he heard May whisper back in her sleep. The light remembers, outside. The stars burned bright and far behind them. Krathos's ship followed the trail, silent, patient, unstoppable. The hunt had only just begun. The stars outside were silent, cold, and endless. The Sparrow drifted through that silence like a wounded bird trying to stay in the sky. Inside, Eli Turner was fixing another broken pipe, his hands shaking from exhaustion. Every movement made the ship groan, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. In the back cabin, May slept inside the glowing chamber, her small body wrapped in light. Her skin shimmered with blue veins that pulsed gently like waves. Leary sat beside her, eyes red from crying. "How long will this help her?" she asked quietly. Eli tightened a bolt, not looking up. "I don't know. Maybe days. Maybe hours." Leary hugged her knees. "You built her air. You saved her life. Why are you still afraid?" Eli finally looked at her. "Because I've been here before," he said softly. "I once promised someone they'd live. I failed." Leary tilted her head. "Your sister?" He nodded. "Yeah, she was 12 when the Mars collapse happened. There was a power failure, oxygen ran out. I couldn't fix it in time. She didn't make it." For a moment, the sound of the engines faded and there was only silence. Leary whispered, "You couldn't save her then, but you're saving us now." Eli smiled sadly. "Maybe that's why I can't stop trying." He went back to the control console, scanning for habitable zones nearby. The map flickered. Dozens of red dots, unsafe. Only one green. Low oxygen, unstable atmosphere. A mining moon called Terran 9, he frowned. Terran 9? Not perfect, but it's our only chance. Leary stood behind him. "Why there?" "It has old oxygen processors from before the war. If I can reach them, I can copy the Lura air mixture you need." She looked doubtful. "You'd risk that for us?" He turned toward her, smiling slightly. "Didn't I already?" Leary didn't answer, but her eyes softened. Hours later, the Sparrow entered the orbit of Terran 9, a rocky moon covered in red dust and broken towers. The place looked dead, but scanners showed life support signals deep underground. As they descended, static filled the radio. A voice broke through, mechanical and cold. "Unauthorized vessel detected. Identify yourself." Eli froze. "Automated defense AI," he muttered. "Probably left over from the miners." He tried to reply calmly. "I'm a mechanic. Emergency landing only." The AI responded, "Authorization denied. Trespassers will be neutralized." And then the ground lit up with defense drones. "Hold on," Eli shouted. The ship twisted as laser fire streaked across the sky. Leary screamed, clutching May's chamber. The engines sputtered, one side catching fire. Eli fought the controls, sweating. "Come on, girl, not now." The ship slammed into the surface, sliding through the dust until it hit an old transport bay. The lights went out. For a long moment, there was only silence and the sound of his heartbeat. Then May coughed weakly. Leary rushed to her. "She's getting cold again." Eli forced the door open. The air outside was thin and heavy. "We need a stable environment. There should be an old oxygen plant nearby. Come on." He lifted the small chamber with May inside and started walking through the abandoned facility. The floor was covered in red sand, the walls cracked and hollow. Every step echoed like a ghost's whisper. Leary followed, eyes glowing faintly blue, lighting the way. "This place feels wrong," she whispered. Eli nodded. "Yeah, but it's our only hope." They found the main control room, dust-covered but still alive. The air smelled like burnt metal. Eli placed May's chamber on the table and started working. "If I can restart the filters and link the processor to her air supply, we can stabilize her core." Leary watched silently. Her hands trembled. "What if it doesn't work?" Eli looked up. "Then I make it work." He worked fast, wires sparking, machines humming. Sweat rolled down his forehead. For a moment, it looked like it was all going to fail, until May's light began to glow brighter. Leary gasped. "She's stabilizing." Eli smiled faintly. "Told you. Humans don't give up easily." But before they could breathe relief, the ground shook. A loud boom echoed through the halls. The old metal walls groaned. Leary's eyes widened. What was that? Eli looked at the scanner. His blood ran cold. Krathos. Outside, the black warship descended through the clouds like a falling mountain. The air turned red from the engine's fire. Dust storms rose, lightning flashing in the smoke. Krathos's voice thundered through the comms. "Did you really think you could hide from me, human?" Eli clenched his fists. "He tracked us through the oxygen trail. Damn it." The warlord's army of drones poured out, spreading across the desert like insects. Leary grabbed May's chamber. "We have to go." Eli shook his head. "If we run, he'll follow forever." "I have to stop him here." Leary stared at him. "You can't fight him. You're just one human." He looked at her, calm and certain. "Yeah, but I've got something he doesn't." "What?" Eli pointed to May's chamber, the light glowing stronger than ever. Hope. He opened a panel on the control board, connecting the power lines from the oxygen processor to the Sparrow's engine core remotely. What are you doing? Leary asked. Setting a trap, he said. If Kratos enters this base, I'll overload the fusion line. He'll lose his ship, and maybe I'll lose mine. But you'll have a chance to run. Leary's voice broke. No, you can't. You promised you'd keep us safe. Eli looked at her with tired eyes and a faint smile. And I will, even if it means I stay behind. May stirred inside the chamber, whispering weakly. Eli. He turned, kneeling beside her. Hey, kiddo. You're safe now. That's all that matters. She reached out, her tiny glowing hand touching his face. Don't go. Eli's throat tightened. He placed her hand gently back inside the chamber. I'll always be here. You just won't see me. Leary's tears glowed like starlight. You humans. You break so easily, but your hearts never stop burning. Eli laughed softly. Guess that's our curse. And our gift. The scanners beeped again. Kratos' forces were only minutes away. Eli stood, staring at the red sky through the cracked window. All right, you monster, he muttered. Come and get me. He turned to Leary. Take your sister. Get back to the ship. When you hear the explosion, fly as far as you can. Leary shook her head fiercely. No, we stay together. Eli hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right then. Together. Outside, thunder rolled as Kratos' army landed. Inside, a human, a dying girl and her glowing sister stood surrounded by ancient machines and dust. Eli's hands hovered over the detonator. His heart beat fast, but his eyes were steady. He whispered to himself, For my sister. For them. For humanity. And as the ground trembled again, a faint smile crossed his face. The promise had been made. And Eli Turner never broke a promise. Red dust rose like blood in the air. The ground shook under the weight of Warlord Kratos' army, hundreds of metal drones crawling across the ruins of Terran 9. Their eyes glowed crimson, their guns hummed with deadly energy, and above them, the Warlord's black ship, the Black Fang, hung in the sky like a dark god watching from the clouds. Inside the broken oxygen plant, Eli Turner stood with his hands steady on the control board. Sweat rolled down his face, mixing with dust and grease. Behind him, the two Lura sisters, Leary and May, waited near the glowing chamber. May's small body flickered with light, her strength fading again. Eli, Leary whispered, her voice trembling. They're here. He didn't look back. I know. His voice was calm, too calm. He stared at the blinking red screen. The fusion line was armed. One button, and the entire facility would explode, taking Kratos' army with it. But that button would also kill him. He looked over his shoulder, meeting Leary's frightened eyes. Get her to the ship. When the blast hits, you fly out of here. Leary shook her head. No, we stay. Eli forced a weak smile. You two really are stubborn. We learned it from you, she said softly. He laughed quietly, then turned back to the screen. Then let's make it count. Outside, the heavy footsteps of war echoed through the tunnels. Metal doors fell, sparks flew, and one by one the machines that once mined the planet turned to dust under Kratos' rage. The Warlord himself walked at the center, tall, monstrous, his armor glowing red. His eyes burned with fury. Find the human, he growled, and bring me the children alive. His soldiers spread out. Drones buzzed through the air like a swarm of hornets. Eli could hear them coming. He picked up his plasma rifle, old, low on charge, but enough for one fight. He checked the chamber, whispered, "One more round, girl," and stepped forward. The first drone burst through the metal door. Eli fired. The blast cut through its head, sparks raining down. He moved fast, ducking behind fallen pipes, firing again and again. The air filled with smoke and light. Leary covered May behind a steel wall, whispering a prayer in her language. Words of protection, words of hope. Eli shouted, "Stay down," as he rolled across the floor, blasting another drone to pieces. Then a heavy shadow filled the doorway. Kratos, the Warlord, stepped inside, each footstep echoing like thunder. "You are brave, human, but bravery is nothing without power." Eli raised his rifle. "I don't need power to do what's right," Kratos laughed. And what has right ever given your kind? Slums, hunger, extinction. You fight for ideals that mean nothing. Eli's grip tightened. Maybe, but it means something to them. He nodded toward the girls. Krathos's red eyes glowed brighter. Give me the sisters and I will let you live. Eli smiled grimly. You'll have to kill me first. So be it. The ground shook as Krathos charged. His blade, forged from plasma steel, struck the floor, melting metal. Eli dodged barely in time, the heat burning his arm. He fired his rifle, but the bolt bounced off the warlord's armor. Krathos swung again, smashing the console beside them. Sparks flew. The entire facility trembled. Leary screamed, "Eli!" He shouted back, "Get to the ship!" But she didn't move. She reached for May instead, holding her tight. The little girl's glow was dimming again, her voice weak. "Eli, don't die." He smiled through the pain. "Not yet," Krathos lunged again. Eli rolled aside and slammed his wrench into the warlord's chest plate. The impact made Krathos stagger for a moment, just enough for Eli to grab a live cable and jam it into the armor's power core. Blue lightning exploded across the room. Krathos roared, his armor sparking violently. "You dare!" the warlord thundered. Eli's arm burned, but he shouted back, "I dare to be human." The explosion threw them both apart. The console behind Eli caught fire. Warning alarm screamed. The reactor core was overheating. Leary's eyes widened. "It's going to blow." Eli crawled toward the detonator. "Good." He pressed a sequence on the panel, linking the reactor to the Sparrow's autopilot. The ship's engines roared in the distance, and it was ready to launch. He turned to Leary. "Get her out of here, now." Leary hesitated. "What about you?" He smiled faintly. "Someone has to push the button." May, half awake, reached out her glowing hand. "Don't." He took her hand gently.
"Hey, kiddo."
"Remember what I told you? Broken things can still fly." Tears streamed down Leary's face as she lifted May into her arms. "We'll come back for you." Eli shook his head. "Just live. That's all the thanks I need." She ran toward the exit, the light of May's body lighting the path through the smoke. Eli turned back to Krathos, who was struggling to rise, his armor still sparking. "You can't stop this," the warlord growled. "You'll die here." Eli aimed his broken rifle at the reactor. "Maybe, but so will you." He pressed the trigger, and the world turned white. The explosion tore through the facility, a storm of fire and dust. The blast wave lit the sky for miles, swallowing everything. In orbit, the Sparrow burst from the surface, flames licking its hull. Leary held May close as tears ran down her cheeks. Through the window, she saw the world below burning. She whispered, "Goodbye, Eli." May stirred weakly, whispering, "He's not gone. I can still feel him." Leary looked at her sister. "What do you mean?" May touched her chest. "His light, it's in here." And as the ship soared into the stars, May's faint glow merged with a new color, a golden spark, flickering beside her blue Eli's spark. Far below, amid the ruins of the explosion, a faint figure lay among the smoke. The air shimmered with blue and gold light. Eli's body was broken, but his chest still rose faintly. Around him, the dust began to swirl, and deep within the fire, two glowing fragments of Lura energy pulsed, merging into him. For the first time in his life, Eli Turner breathed not air, but light. The war wasn't over yet. The galaxy hadn't seen the last of the human who dared to defy a god. Silence, the kind of silence that comes after fire, the silence of ashes, smoke, and death. The ruins of Terran 9 lay broken under a dying sun. The air shimmered with leftover heat from the explosion. For miles nothing moved, no sound, no life, but then a spark. A faint blue light flickered beneath the rubble. It grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. Slowly the metal shifted, revealing a burned, half-buried figure. Eli Turner. He should have been dead, yet his chest rose weakly, glowing faintly through torn fabric. The air around him shimmered blue and gold, colors that didn't belong to this world. He gasped, his first breath a mixture of pain and light. It wasn't air that filled his lungs now. It was something more. Something alive. Memories flashed through his mind. May's laughter, Leary's eyes, his promise to protect them. And then a soft voice, gentle and familiar, whispered in his head, "You're not alone, Eli." He looked around, confused. The voice wasn't outside. It was inside him. "Leary, May?" he whispered. "We're here. came May's voice, echoing softly in his thoughts. You saved us. So we saved you. He blinked in disbelief. What did you— Then he saw it. Faint blue veins of light running across his arms, glowing under his skin. His lungs, once broken, now shone with a gentle golden light. The air he breathed shimmered. He wasn't just human anymore. He was something between. Your body was dying, Leary's voice said, calm and warm. Our energy, our cores, they merged with you. Now, May added softly, you can breathe our world's air, and ours can live through you. Eli sat in the ruins, staring at his hands as they glowed in the smoke. A laugh escaped his lips, soft, tired, disbelieving. So this is what it feels like to be reborn. High above the ruined moon, the Sparrow floated in orbit, its hull scarred but alive. Inside, the sisters rested, connected by a faint light that pulsed through the ship's walls, their link to Eli. Leary sat near the window, staring at the burning planet below. Do you think he's still there? She whispered. May closed her eyes. I can feel him. He's not gone. Not yet, and then a signal flashed on the radar. A single distress beacon, weak but real. Leary's heart skipped a beat. That's him. She jumped into the pilot's seat, hands shaking. Hold on, little one. We're going back. The ship turned sharply and dove toward the glowing ruins. On the surface, Eli was standing now, though barely. His wounds still burned, but light flowed through his veins, knitting him back together. He looked up at the sky. The explosion had cleared the dust, and for the first time in years, he saw the stars clearly. He smiled. Guess you weren't lying, May. Broken things really can fly. A shadow crossed the light above him. He looked up, and there it was. The Sparrow descending through the smoke, its engines flickering blue. He raised his hand weakly, waving. Took you long enough, he muttered with a grin. The ship landed with a loud hiss. The hatch opened, and Leary ran out, followed by May, her body glowing bright and strong again. Eli, Leary shouted. He stumbled forward, and the three of them met in the middle of the ruins, human and alien wrapped in the same light. May hugged him tightly, laughing through tears. You came back. Eli chuckled weakly. You didn't give me much of a choice, kid. Leary looked at him in awe. You're different, he nodded. Yeah, I guess I've got a bit of Lura in me now. She smiled through tears. Then you're one of us. They stayed there for a while. Just breathing. One human, two alien sisters, and the quiet stars above. But the peace didn't last long. From the distance, the sky flickered red. Krithos's fleet, smaller now, damaged but alive, had returned. The warlord himself, burned but unbroken, stood aboard the Black Fang, staring down at the surface. You can't kill me that easily, he growled. Eli saw the shadows in the clouds and clenched his fists. The light under his skin flared brighter. Then let's finish this. As the Black Fang descended, Eli stepped forward. His lungs glowed brighter, drawing in air that shimmered like starlight. The wind around him began to twist, soft at first, then strong. May gasped. Eli, your body, he nodded. I can feel it. Your energy, it's alive inside me. The ground trembled as Krathos's ship opened fire, plasma bolts raining down. Eli raised his arms and the air shimmered blue. The bolts hit an invisible barrier and exploded harmlessly. Leary stared in shock. He's controlling the light. Eli looked back at her, grinning. Guess I picked up a few tricks. He gathered the light between his hands, and with a deep breath unleashed it, a beam of gold and blue energy shooting upward. Striking the Black Fang directly, the ship cracked apart, its engines exploding in brilliant color. Krathos's roar echoed through the sky, then silence. When the light faded, only stars remained. Hours later, the three of them sat together at the edge of the crater. The sky was calm again. May rested against Eli's shoulder, her small hand glowing faintly. Leary looked up at the endless stars. So what now? She asked softly. Eli smiled. We find somewhere new. A place where you can grow, and maybe teach the galaxy what real strength looks like. May looked up at him, eyes shining. And you'll come too? He nodded. I'm not going anywhere. We're together now, always. Leary smiled, tears glistening. Always. Days later, the Sparrow soared again, repaired, brighter, alive. Its engines glowed with human metal, and Lura light combined. Inside, laughter echoed, the sound of a new beginning. As they left Terran 9 behind, Eli looked out the window, watching the ruins fade. "You know," he said softly, "the galaxy will probably never believe this story." Leary smiled. "Let them doubt. The truth doesn't need belief," May giggled. "They'll just call it a legend." Eli laughed, resting his hand on their shoulders. "Then let it be one worth remembering." The stars stretched before them, countless, waiting, full of promise. And as the sparrow vanished into the light, one thought echoed across the void. He was poor in credits, but rich in humanity.